ਹੁਣ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਹੇਟ ਦੀ। ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨਫ਼ਰਤੀ ਟਿੱਪਣੀਆਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਵਿਦਨ ਦਾ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਨੇ, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਇੱਕ ਖਾਸ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਰੰਗ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਰੰਗ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਹੇਟਸ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਹੇਟ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਨਸਲੀ ਵਿਤਕਰਾ ਆ, ਨਫ਼ਰਤੀ ਕਮੈਂਟਸ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ, ਚਾਹੇ ਫੇਸਬੁੱਕ, ਇੰਸਟਾਗ੍ਰਾਮ, ਟਵਿੱਟਰ, ਹੋਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੈਂਡਲਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਾਧਾ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ। ਦੁਨੀਆ 'ਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਥਾਵਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਜੰਗਾਂ ਲੱਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਬੁਰਾ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵ ਪਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਸਰਟਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਟਾਰਗੇਟ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸੇ ਬਾਬਤ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਆਪਣੀ ਅੱਜ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਨਿੱਕੀ ਸ਼ਰਮਾ ਜੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਆਨਰੇਬਲ MLA ਨੇ, ਅਟਾਰਨੀ ਜਨਰਲ ਨੇ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਤੋਂ। ਸੋ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਇਹਦੇ ਬਾਬਤ ਕੀ ਫਰਦਰ ਸਟੈਪਸ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਆ, ਅੱਜ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਅਨਾਊਂਸਮੈਂਟਸ ਕੀ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਿੱਕੀ ਸ਼ਰਮਾ ਜੀ ਹੁਣਾਂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ 'ਚ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਵੈਲਕਮ ਨਿੱਕੀ ਜੀ, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ TV।
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much. First of all, talking about this online hate, how deep you think like this has gone into the communities right now, this online hate, how is the government addressing all this right now?
Yeah, it's very concerning. I think we all spend a lot of time online, including our young people. And what we know is that there can be a spread of a lot of online hate. So people can be targeted by it, by somebody directly saying something or doing something against you. Also, people can become really racist through online platforms, and that shows up in our community. They're getting targeted by messages that are racist. They're seeing it a lot, and then they're spreading it when they leave their phone behind and go out into community by saying things or acting on it. And communities like the South Asian community have been experiencing this, and so we as a government are taking action in many different ways to address that. But today, really, there's two things that happened, and one is that I want to make it clear to British Columbians that if they have experienced online hate, to go to make a complaint toward the Human Rights Tribunal, that is a program and a process that's ready to address that kind of hate. But also we're investing in different types of technological tools that we can use to track where hate's happening in real time, like which communities are being targeted, where in the province is it being targeted, where are we seeing connections between a rise in online hate to actual incidents of violence and hate in our community. And that is really going to help shine a light on where it's happening so we can address it.
Could you more elaborating this? What does this all government made these changes? What did government recognize in the past few years or the past times that government has made these certain changes?
Yeah, anti-racism work is something that we take very seriously. Like I, like many people that come from racialized backgrounds, understand what it's like through not only what my parents faced, but also what the challenges that I can face sometimes as Attorney General, not, that's a South Asian woman. And my ministry is leading the work on anti-racism, and there's many things we're doing, including transforming our government system. So making sure that government is accountable for removing racism in our systems. And it shows up for many people in different ways, right? I hear from a lot of people that, in India, I was qualified to do this, but when I came to Canada, they wouldn't recognize that. There's a lot of barriers that are in place with government services that is racialized in a lot of ways. It's racist. Yeah. And so we want to hold all government accountable for that. So I'll be introducing legislation next week to do that, and I'm happy to speak about it once it's in the House. But it's definitely something that we as a ministry and myself personally are taking very seriously.
Some people might be very shocked after listening to your statement that you sitting in this chair, even you are facing sometime this online hate. Can you a little bit explain about yourself? How do you deal with this, or how do you react to this online hate yourself?
Yeah, it makes me really angry. I remember I was targeted by something online once that was a racist comment towards me. And you know who was really upset? It was my parents. It was upsetting to me, but when I talked to my mom, she said, we thought when we came to this country that when we set up our life here, that you wouldn't have to face this, that this wouldn't be something that you faced as at the next generation. And it's really upsetting. And we know that online forums can sometimes be the worst and most hateful places, right? You can and I think what's clear is that it's actual harm. It's just sometimes we think online is over here and it's not real, but it has impacts not only to the person, but also our society. We're trying hard to break down barriers, to build an inclusive society. And yet online, the worst stuff sometimes spreads, right? So there needs to be accountability for that. And that's what we're working hard to do.
And Nikki, what do you think other than the online hate, what are the other kind of hates like people are facing?
Yeah, I hear increasingly that people are hearing comments on the streets from other people, that there's things that are happening in terms of programs or services or systems that are barriers for people because of the color of their skin. And it can go down to every government service. We're launching a racist incident helpline, which will help people be able to report these incidents. So not just online, but in real life, where is it happening, how it's happening, and then we want to step up enforcement. So the police know how to do it, so our justice system can respond, so we can make sure that everybody knows that it's something that we take seriously and that we're going to fight every time it shows up.
After today's BC government's this announcement you're making today, what difference do you think this is going to make after today?
Yeah, there's a couple important things about today, and it's a small part of our bigger work. And one is that British Columbians can know that if they experience online hate, they have the Human Rights Tribunal that's set up to address that. And the second thing is I really think it's important to have the data. So to make sure that we know where we can track, like where is online hate happening, where is it showing up, how is it impacting how people are becoming extreme on views, how racism is showing up in communities. That's all going to really help us address it, right? To use the tools in our government to tackle it, and it's going to really build into our programs and services. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
And do you think there are any specific communities who are mostly facing these kind of online hates?
Yeah, I think what I hear is it comes in web it comes in waves for different communities. I think like during COVID, it was the Asian community that was experiencing a lot of hate. Right now, we're in a very difficult time for a rise in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, and that's what I'm hearing from community members. But also, unfortunately, a lot of racialized people have stories or experiences of hate in their life, and oftentimes they carry it with them and they don't know what to do with it. And we want to make sure that they understand that we are working and that there are systems and supports and tools to not only hold people accountable, but to make sure that we get rid of it in our society.
So is it growing only in Canada? Because so many cases we are seeing right now Canada-wide. You think it's going worldwide or it's mostly in Canada?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's a worldwide issue. Online platforms know no borders.
Yes.
Somebody sitting in British Columbia can be reading really hateful content from another part of the world and becoming influenced by that, right? So we have to understand that the online platforms change all of our worlds completely, and that if we're not stepping up to making sure that you can't just spread hate online and think there's no accountability, then it's going to impact our society, our ability to build an inclusive society. All the work that generations of communities like the South Asian community have done to break down barriers, break down racism, sometimes can be undone by hate that doesn't even come from our province. So it's something that we have to take very seriously.
So Canada is strongly against always the human rights violation. It doesn't matter what part of the country or what part of the world it is going through. So we ourselves facing it within our own country. How big issue do you see there?
Yeah, it's unfortunately, I start to think that you can never let up when it comes to pushing back against racism and hate. It's a constant battle and struggle. Wherever it pops up, you have to stand strong and push it away and make sure that the systems in our society are there to make sure it doesn't take over. Canada is part of a country in the world and the world in general is experiencing, I think, division because of sometimes online platforms can do that, right? It pulls us apart rather than pulling us together. So it's something that, we have to make sure we address not only in British Columbia, but Canada and the world.
Perfect. Nikki, thank you so much for giving your time today. We hope we bring this to an end and hopefully BC government and Canada government working together and people looking for a safer and healthier Canada.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. ਸੋ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ MLA ਨਿੱਕੀ ਸ਼ਰਮਾ ਅਟਾਰਨੀ ਜਨਰਲ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਖਾਸ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਹੇਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੀਤੀ। ਸੋ ਉਮੀਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ BC ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹ ਸਟੈਪਸ ਹਨ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਅਸਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਤੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੂਗਾ। ਜਿਵੇਂ ਨਿੱਕੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਟਾਰਗੇਟ ਕੋਵਿਡ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੀ ਹੋਈਆਂ, ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਹੇਟ ਵੱਧਦਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ। ਸੋ ਇਹਦੇ ਰੂਟ ਕਾਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਭ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰ ਸਟੈਪਸ ਲੈਣ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਫਰਜ਼ ਆਮ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਨਾਗਰਿਕ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਬਣਦਾ।